also blessed Sabbath from my side.
So auch einen gesegneten Sabbat von mir aus.
And let's open in prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet anfangen.
Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
we thank you for all your blessings this week.
wir danken dir für all deine Segnungen während dieser Woche.
And as we just sung in the hymn, please always keep in mind what your Son did for us.
Und so wie wir eben gesungen haben, bitte hilft uns immer in Gedächtnis zu behalten, das, was dein Sohn für uns getan hat.
That we would not forget these things and not think about them lightly.
Dass wir diese Sachen nicht vergessen werden oder sie leichtfertig nehmen.
And please open your word now to us.
Und bitte jetzt öffne dein Wort zu uns.
And please be thou our teacher.
Und bitte sei du unsere Lehrer.
And help us to understand the things you want to show us.
Und bitte hilft uns, die Sachen zu verstehen, die du uns zeigen möchtest.
And we ask and pray in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten und beten in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we looked recently at this story of Zacchaeus
So,
in the
wir
tree.
haben neulich diese Geschichte von Zachäus im Baum angeschaut.
And I want to go back there now
Und ich möchte da zurückgehen dazu
and just look at a certain topic about his restoring.
und einen bestimmten Anteil seiner Geschichte anschauen über seine Wiederherstellung.
Okay, and let's go to Luke 19, verses 5 to 10.
So, lass uns zu Lukas 19 gehen, die Verse 5 bis 10.
So Luke 19, verses 5 to 10.
Lukas 19, die Verse 5 bis 10.
And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Jesus said unto him, This day salvation come to this house, for so much as he is also a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. Okay, so what kind of restitution did Zacchaeus make?
So, was für eine Art Wiedergutmachung hat Zachäus getan?
Fourfold. Okay.
Das vierfach.
Okay. And we also know from the story of David,
Und wir wissen auch aus der Geschichte von David her,
when he committed this adultery,
als diesen Ehebruch begangen hat,
Prophet Nathan came to him.
kam der Prophet Nathan zu ihm.
And let's go there.
Lass uns dahin.
2 Samuel 12,
Das ist im 2. Buch Samuel und Kapitel 12,
verses 5 to 6.
Verse 5 und 6.
This was now when Nathan gave David this parable and David basically condemned himself. Okay.
Dies ist die Geschichte, wo Nathan David diese Gleichnis gegeben hat und David hat sich mit seinen eigenen Worten verurteilt.
Okay. It says, and David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, As the Lord liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die. And he shall restore the land fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. And verse 7,
Vers 7.
And Nathan said to David, Thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul, and so on and so forth. Okay, so here David basically says, okay, because in this parable, this rich man took away the lamb of this poor man to dress it for somebody else. Right?
So in
For a
diesem
guest.
Gleichnis, diesen reichen Mann hat den Lamm von einem armen Mann genommen, um es jemand anders zum Speise zu geben.
Okay. And David says he must restore fourfold.
Und
Okay.
David sagte hier, er muss das vierfach wiederherstellen.
Okay. And David has his understanding from the law of God, or from the law of Moses. Okay,
David hat sein Verständnis von das Gesetz Mose oder das Gesetz Gottes hin.
okay, so let's go there. Let's go to Exodus 22.
So, lasst uns dahin, gehen wir zu 2. Buch Mose und 22.
And this is also where Zacchaeus got his understanding of restoring fourfold from.
Hier ist es auch, wo Zachäus sein Verständnis von das vierfache Wiedergutmachung.
Okay, so Exodus 22, verse 1.
2. Buch Mose, Kapitel 22 und Vers 1.
It says, if a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. Okay, so here we can see when a sheep gets stolen or sold, that doesn't belong to you, you must restore fourfold.
So hier, wenn ein Schaf gestohlen werden oder verkauft, die dir nicht gehört, dann muss es das vierfach wiederhergestellt werden.
Okay, so Zacchaeus, for instance, he understood that he was guilty of this. Okay,
So, Zachäus, der hat verstanden, dass er die schuldig war.
okay, so therefore he was willing to restore fourfold.
So, deswegen war er bereit, das vierfache wieder gut zu machen.
Good, let's just continue here in this chapter.
So, wir setzen fort in diesem selben Kapitel
And let's continue down to verse 4.
und wir gehen bis Vers 4 hinab.
It says, if a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. Okay, so the thief, when he gets caught, when the sun is already up, what happens to him?
So, der Dieb, wenn er erwischt wird, wenn die Sonne schon bereits auf ist, was geschieht mit ihm?
He must either restore, right?
So, er muss entweder wiederherstellen,
Either double if the thing that he stole is still alive.
so
Understand?
das Doppelte, wenn das, was er gestohlen hat, noch am Leben ist,
Or fourfold if he killed it or sold it.
oder das Vierfache, wenn er es bereits geschlachtet hat oder verkauft hat.
And if he cannot pay, what should happen to him?
Und wenn er nichts bezahlen kann, was soll mit ihm geschehen?
Yes, he should be sold, right?
Er soll selbst verkauft werden.
Okay, so now jump down to and keep this in mind about he's being sold, okay?
Und behalte das in Gedanken darüber, dass er verkauft wird.
Okay, and also that he has to restore either fourfold or double.
Und auch, dass er entweder das Vierfache oder das Doppelte wiederherstellen muss.
Okay, now verse 7.
Jetzt Vers 7.
If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. So here the thief also has to pay double.
So hier auch muss er doppelt zurückbezahlen.
Now 8 and 9.
Die Verse 8 und 9.
If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges, to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challengeth to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. Okay, again paying double when you get condemned by the judges.
So, wieder das Doppelte bezahlen, wenn du verurteilt wirst als schuldig bei den Richtern.
Okay, now let's go to Isaiah 40.
Jetzt gehen wir zu Jesaja 40.
And let's read the verse 1 and 2.
Die Versen 1 und 2.
Now we can better understand why the Lord said this. Yeah.
Und hier können wir besser verstehen, warum der Herr dies sagt.
And let's read verses 1 and 2.
Die ersten 2 Verse.
It says, comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. Okay, so what did Jerusalem receive?
So, was hat Jerusalem hier erhalten?
Yes, double, but what does it mean in this context?
So doppelt. Aber in diesem Zusammenhang, was bedeutet das? Punishment.
Yes, a punishment, double punishment,
Eine
right?
doppelte Bestrafung.
Because she received double for all her
Weil
sins.
sie
Yes.
doppelt erhalten hat wegen ihrer Sünden.
Okay, so therefore, in this sense, she was brought before the judges and she was condemned. Okay,
In diesem Sinne, sie ist vor den Richtern gebracht worden und verurteilt.
she has to restore now double.
Sie
Okay.
muss jetzt das Doppelte wieder gut machen.
And this is what we will look a little bit more into now.
Und dieses, was wir ein bisschen näher anschauen will.
Okay, because we saw that if you cannot pay the double, what happens to you?
Wir haben bereits gesehen, wenn du nicht bezahlen kannst, was soll mit dir geschehen? Schuld.
Yeah, you're sold as a slave, right?
Du wirst selbst als Sklave verkauft werden.
Okay, so now let's go and go to Judges chapter 2.
So gehen wir jetzt zum Richter und Kapitel 2.
And then let's read verses 13 and 14.
Und wir lesen die Versen 13 und 14.
It says, and they forsook the Lord and served Baal and Ashtaroth, and the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Okay, so what did the Lord do?
So was tat der Herr?
He sold them, right?
Verkaufte sie.
Okay, so also go to Judges 3
So geht auch zum Richter 3
and verse 8,
und Vers 8,
or 7 and 8.
7 und 8 sogar.
It says, and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord their God, and served Baalim and the groves. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served the certain king 8 years. Okay, so here again the Lord sold them.
So
Okay,
hier wieder, der Herr verkaufte sie.
okay, but what did the law say? Okay,
Aber was sagte das Gesetz?
okay. Before we go there, let's read one more illustration.
Und noch bevor wir zum Gesetz gehen, lesen wir eine weitere
Let's go
Darstellung.
to Jeremiah 25.
Gehen wir zu Jeremia 25.
No, we didn't play.
Joel chapter 2 sells them to the Sabaeans.
Ah. No, isn't he selling the Grecians to the Syrians? Yes. I mean, they sold it. They sold the daughters and
Yes, and he says, I'm going to turn it back on
Yes.
your own head and I'll sell you.
Yes.
It's just the same principle.
yes. Okay, we can go there, but let's look at Jeremiah 25 first.
So Jeremia 25.
Let's read verse 9.
Lass uns Vers 9 lesen.
Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and I will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and an hissing, and a perpetual desolations. And then verse 11.
Vers 11.
And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Okay, so this was also a servitude to Babylon, right?
Dies war auch
70 years.
eine Dienerschaft zur Babylon, 70
And we
Jahre.
understand the 70 years is an illustration for what other time period?
Die 70 Jahre ist eine Darstellung für welche weitere Zeit?
1260.
1260.
1260.
Okay. So it's this Sunday law crisis.
Das ist diese Sonntagsgesetzkrise.
Okay, and it shows us that a thief, if he could not pay the double, he was to be sold. Okay.
Das zeigt uns, der Dieb, wenn er nicht bezahlen konnte, diese Doppelte, dann sollte er verkauft werden.
Okay, let's go now to Malachi.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Malachi.
Chapter 3.
Kapitel 3.
And let's begin in verse 7.
Und wir fangen in Vers 7 an.
It says, even from the days of your fathers ye are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithe and offerings. So, God's people, what are they here?
So, Gottes Volk, was sind sie?
Romans.
Robbers and thieves, right?
Diebe und Räuber.
And then it says in verse 9,
Vers 9 sagt es.
ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithe into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. And he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. Okay, so if you don't pay the tithe, if you're a thief and a robber, what comes upon you?
So, wenn du die Zehnte nicht bezahlst, wenn du ein Dieb und ein Räuber bist, was kommt über dich?
The curse, right?
Das Fluch.
And the Lord, he will sell you into the hands of the slave masters, okay? In the hand of Satan.
Herr wird dich verkaufen im Hand von den Sklaventreibern und das ist letztendlich Satan.
But if you pay the tithe and the offering, what will he do for you?
Aber wenn du den Zehnten und Opfergabe bezahlst, was wird er für dich tun?
He opened the windows of heaven.
Yes, he will open the windows of heaven.
Den Fenstern des Himmels, die er auftut.
And according to verse 11,
Und gemäß Vers 11,
He will cause the devourer to
yes, it says,
rebuke him.
yes,
The Lord rebuked thee.
the Lord rebuked me, right?
der Herr wird den Verzehrer schelten, also er scheltete Satan.
And when is it that the Lord says the Lord rebuked thee?
Und wann ist es, wo der Herr sagt,
Yes,
der Herr schelte dich?
for the first group here, right?
Die erste Gruppe hier an der 9.
So
Stunde.
therefore it shows us that it's right here where we then will pay this tithe and this offering that the Lord wants.
So,
Okay?
das zeigt uns, dass es gerade hier ist, wo wir diesen Zehnten und
One second,
Gaben
please.
bezahlen werden, die der Herr von uns verlangt.
Therefore, what are we in God's eyes before that?
Deswegen, was sind wir zuvor in Gottes Augen?
They're on the cross. Thieves and
Thieves.
Yeah,
robbers.
we're thief and robbers, okay?
Diebe und Räuber.
And that's why the Lord sells us into the hand of the enemy.
So, deswegen, der Herr verkauft uns im Hand des Feindes.
Until when?
Bis wann?
Till you pass under the rod.
Yes.
6 Jahre.
Until you pay the last
Father.
farthing,
Bis du
okay?
den letzten Groschen bezahlst.
Until you pay the tithe and the offering he
Bis
wants,
du
okay?
den Zehnten und Gaben bezahlst.
Well, that's how the final statement, because it says the tenth of the flock,
Pass under
it's
the
because of the tithe of the flock, has to pass under the rod.
So, das
All those that
Zehnte,
pass under the rod are holy.
das Zehnte der Herde muss unter diesen Stab oder diese Rute hindurchgehen und jeder, der da hindurchgeht, ist heilig. Das ist eben eine Zehnte der
I
Herde.
think it's in Deuteronomy. But
Yeah.
it says, it says that Yeah, you says, because you said in Malachi here, bring your tithes into the storehouse. He's talking about your heart, right? Your
Yes, exactly.
tithe.
Yes, yes.
So, bring deine Zehnte im Schatzkammer, im Kornkammer und so what did you say the tithes are what?
Your heart.
Oh, dein Zehnten ist dein Herz.
Yes. So here you're these thieves and the robbers,
So,
right?
hier bist du diese Diebe und Räuber.
And here, if you pay the tithe,
Und hier, wenn du den Zehnten zahlst,
the Lord will rebuke the devourer.
der Herr wird den Verzehrer schelten.
Satan rebuked.
And, you know,
Okay.
it's the same what he says in Joel, coming back to that point,
Yes.
because he rebukes the northern army, they flee far off. Because
Yes. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 3.
So, lass uns jetzt zu Sprüche Kapitel 3 gehen.
Yes. Proverbs 3
Sprüche 3,
and then verse 9.
Sprüche 3 und Vers 9.
It says here, honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of thine increase. Okay, so the tithe, they were the first fruits, right?
Das Zehnte, das war die Erstlingsgabe,
That's
richtig?
always, what are you to do with the tithe always?
Was sollst du mit den Zehnten
do
tun?
it aside first.
Yes. Put aside first, right?
Du solltest zuerst beiseite legen.
So what should it teach you?
So, was sollte dir das lehren?
If you always put God's portion aside first, what does it teach you?
So, wenn du immer Gottes Anteil beiseite legst zuerst, was soll dir das lehren?
Yes, it teaches you what Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, to put God's kingdom and its righteousness first, and all other things shall be added unto you.
So, es lehrt uns diesen Prinzip von Matthäus 6,33, dass tu Gottes Königreich und seine Gerechtigkeit an erste Stelle und alles andere wird dir hinzugefügt werden.
So, therefore, it's about putting God first in your life, in every aspect of your life. Okay.
So, deswegen es heißt, tue Gott in erste Stelle in jeder Bereich deines Lebens.
And as long as you don't do this, you don't pay him the tithe. Okay.
Und solange du das nicht tust, dann zahlst du Gott nichts, den Zehnten.
Yeah, so, therefore, in this time, if you don't set God first in every aspect of your life, you're a thief and a robber in his eyes, because you steal the things that actually are due to him away and you give it to idols. Okay.
So, wenn du in dieser Zeit den Zehnten und Gaben Gott nicht bezahlst, das bist du in seinem Auge ein Dieb und ein Räuber, weil du das ihm klaust, was ihm gebührt.
That's not exactly what I wanted to say. It's the tithe and the offering represents that you put God first in your life.
Also der Zehnte und Gabe, das stellt dar, dass du Gott an erste Stelle in dein Leben setzt.
So if you don't set him first in your life, that means that you take away the things that belong to him, like the honor and glory and worship, and you place it upon other things. And therefore you don't pay tithe in his eyes. Okay.
Und wenn du ihn nicht an erste Stelle setzt, mit Ehre und Würde und alle anderen Sachen, dann gibst
Yeah.
keine Ahnung.
Yeah. You give it to somebody else, and you
Gibst es
therefore
jemand
don't pay
anderes.
tithe in his eyes.
So, du gibst es jemand anders und in seinen Augen keine Zehnte zahlst.
Okay. And therefore he needs to sell you until he brings you to the point where you're humbled and now you're willing to pay the tithe. Okay.
Und deswegen muss er dich verkaufen, bis er dir zu dem Punkt bringt, wo du bereit bist, gedemütigt zu werden
And to pay the tithe.
und den Zehnten zu zahlen.
Okay. So now let's go to the law,
Lass uns jetzt zum Gesetz gehen.
because the Lord also, he gave some requirements. If a Hebrew is sold, under what circumstances he was to be sold.
Denn der Herr hat auch Bedingungen gegeben, dass wenn ein Hebräer verkauft werden soll, denn unter welche Bedingungen das geschehen
So
soll.
let's go to Leviticus 25.
Gehen wir zum 3. Buch Mose 25.
And then verse 38 to 43.
Die Verse 38 bis 43.
Leviticus 25, verses 38 to 43.
3. Buch Mose 25, die Verse 38 bis 43.
It says, I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as an hired servant, and as a sojourner he shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his fathers shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy God. Okay, so what kind of servants should they not be
So,
if they're sold?
was für Diener sollen sie nicht sein, wenn sie verkauft werden?
Yes, not these bond servants, okay?
Keine, I don't know what a bond servant is.
So leibeigene Knechte.
So, keine leibeigenen Knechte, I don't know what that means.
It's like that you really belong to
Oh, okay.
this person.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, but they were to be like hired servants, it says.
Aber die sollten wie angeheuerte Arbeiter sein.
Okay, so therefore the Lord, he tells basically in his law, if his people get sold, only under this condition. Okay.
So, sagt dann in seinem Gesetz, dass wenn sein Volk verkauft werden sollten, dann nur unter diese Bedingungen.
So they are sold as hired servants. Okay.
So, die werden verkauft als angeheuerte Sklaven.
Okay. And it says here, the Lord says explicitly, verse 43,
Vers 43.
thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear thy God. Okay.
Du sollst nicht über ihm hart regieren, sondern Gott fürchten.
Yes. Okay. So, but we saw that what happened to them, for instance, in the Babylonian captivity.
Aber wir haben gesehen, was geschah mit denen in der Gefangenschaft von Babylon.
To the Hebrews.
Zu den Hebräern.
I mean,
Was this fulfilled here?
War dies hier erfüllt?
No, right?
Nein,
Only at the beginning.
nur am Anfang.
Yeah, so at the beginning they were sold, they were treated well in Babylon. Okay.
So am Anfang sind sie wohl auf in Babylon, in Egypt, right?
Sorry?
Babylon.
Babylon.
Babylon also.
Because I showed you that they were sold as servants to Babylon 70 years. Right?
Also sie waren verkauft zu Babylon 70 Jahre lang.
Okay, so, but it says here they were not to be ruled over with rigor.
Aber es sagt hier, sie sollten nicht beherrscht werden auf harte Weise.
Yeah, but Babylon, what did they become?
Aber Babylon, was sind sie geworden?
Yes, they became a cruel and proud oppressor.
Sind
Right?
stolz und grausame Unterdrücker geworden.
Okay, so therefore, now Babylon, they did not hold them anymore as these hired servants, but they became bondmen. Okay,
Babylon, sie haben sie nicht mehr gehalten als diese angeheuerten Sklaven, sondern als Leibeigenknechte.
let's go to Ezra chapter 9 just to confirm this.
Lass uns zu Ezra Kapitel 9, um das zu bestätigen.
And let's begin in verse 7.
Und lasst uns in Vers 7 anfangen.
Verse 7 to verse 9.
Die Verse 7 bis 9.
It says, Since the days of our fathers have we been in great trespass. That's now Ezra's prayer. Okay.
Das ist die Gebet von Ezra.
Unto this day. And for our iniquities have we, our kings and our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands. So they now were sold to the kings, right, of the lands.
Verkauft zu diesen Königen der Länder.
To the sword, to captivity, and to a spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And now for a little space grace hath been showed from the Lord our God, to leave us a remnant to escape, and to give us a nail in his holy place, that our God may lighten our eyes, and give us a little reviving in our bondage. For we were bondmen. So what were they?
Was waren sie?
Bondmen, right? So they were bond servants. Okay?
Sie waren Knechte.
So therefore they were not treated as these hired servants in Babylon, but eventually they were treated as bond servants.
Also sie
Okay.
waren nicht wie diese Heuerlinge in Babylon mehr behandelt, sondern eher als Knechte.
Okay. And therefore, the Lord, he now brings a punishment upon them. Okay?
Deswegen der Herr bringt eine Bestrafung über die Babylonier.
And now we can go to the book of Joel.
So, lasst uns jetzt zum Buch Joel gehen.
Joel chapter 3.
Joel Kapitel 2.
3.
Kapitel 3.
And let's read verses 5 to 8.
Und lesen die Versen 5 bis 8.
It says, Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. So they sold now God's people to the Grecians. Right?
Also, sie haben Gottes Volk zu diesen Griechen verkauft.
Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head, and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabines, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. Okay, so they first sold them as bondmen, but now they themselves get sold
So, sie haben sie zuerst
by
als
God's
Knechte
people. Right?
verkauft, aber sie werden dann verkauft werden durch Gott, von Gottes Volk.
Okay, and they get sold to the Sabines.
Sie werden zu den Sabäer verkauft.
Okay, and we saw that when you are here in this bondage under Babylon and all these heathen nations, what kind of punishment is it?
Wir haben gesehen, dass wenn du in dieser Knechtschaft in Babylon und all diese heidnischen Nationen bist, was für eine Bestrafung ist das?
What did we read in Isaiah chapter 40?
Was haben wir in Jesaja Kapitel 40 gelesen?
What did? Yes, double, right?
Das ist doppelt.
She received double for her sins.
Sie
Okay.
erhält doppelt für ihre Sünden.
Okay. So, but now let's go to Revelation chapter 13 first.
Aber lass uns zur Offenbarung, zuerst Kapitel 13 gehen.
And let's read verse 10.
Vers 10.
Yes,
13:10.
13:10. It says, He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with a sword must be killed with a sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. So, they lead you into captivity, and now they themselves get the punishment, right?
Die führen dich in der Gefangenschaft und deswegen werden sie dann eine Bestrafung erhalten.
Okay, now let's go to Revelation 18.
Und jetzt gehen wir zur Offenbarung 18.
And let's read verses 5 to 6.
Die Versen 5 bis 6.
It says, speaking about Babylon now.
Da spricht hier über Babylon.
It says, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double, according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Okay, so what kind of punishment does Babylon now receive?
So, was für eine Bestrafung erhält jetzt Babel?
Yes, double, but double of what?
Das,
Yes,
das
so
Doppel von Doppel.
so because she fills you the cup double here, right?
Sie füllt dein Kelch hier doppelt.
Yes.
Amen?
So it's a double punishment, but
Eine doppelte Bestrafung.
she now receives also the same punishment as you received. Therefore, she receives double. Okay.
Sie erhält dasselbe Bestrafung, die du erhalten hast, also deswegen erhält sie doppelt.
But because she gave you double, she receives now double the double.
So,
Okay.
weil sie dir doppelt gegeben hat, sie erhält doppelt,
So
doppelt.
that's why in Exodus 22, it says you have to restore double, 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 but then in this one time, it says fourfold,
Yes.
because it's double, double.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, she receives here the fourfold
Yes.
punishment.
Also sie erhält ja das vierfache Bestrafung.
Okay. So Babylon. Four times. Okay. And so basically, it shows us that the Lord, He only allows this whole test and temptation, and that the enemies rule over us, because we don't pay Him the tithe. Okay.
Der Herr zeigt uns, er erlaubt diese ganze Test und Versuchung von den Feinden über uns zu kommen, weil wir den Zehnten und Gaben nicht zahlen.
So because we rob Him and we are thief in His eyes.
So, weil wir ihm rauben und wir sind Diebe in seinen Augen.
But if we pass through this experience and we realize these things about us and repent of these things, He will eventually deliver us when we pay Him the tithe, when we give this perfect offering.
Und wenn wir hier hindurchgehen und wir erkennen diese Sachen an uns und wir tun Buße und wir bringen diesen perfekten Opfer dar,
Then He, which is the tithe.
also wenn wir diese perfekte Opfer darbringen, was der
It's two
Zehnte
mites.
ist,
Yeah, the two mites.
So two mites make a
yes,
farthing.
exactly.
die
Double.
2 Groschen.
Yes. Then
Die
He
2 Groschen
eventually,
machen eine Münze und das ist doppelt.
then He eventually will deliver us, and He will now punish Babylon, not only double, but double the double.
Dann
Okay.
wird er uns befreien und er wird Babylon bestrafen. Es war nicht nur doppelt, sondern doppelt, doppelt.
Okay. So that's some thoughts I wanted to share this evening,
So, das sind einige Gedanken, die ich heute mitteilen wollte.
and there's definitely much more to it, but I think for tonight we can leave it with that.
Und es gibt mehr dazu, aber für heute Abend lassen wir es dabei.
And yeah, I hope that we can see why all these calamities come upon us. It's only because our heart is not fully with the Lord.
Und ich hoffe, dass wir sehen können, dass diese Sachen kommen nur über uns, weil unserem Herzen nicht ganz dem Herrn bei ist.
And He uses this as a means to bring us back to Him, to return unto
Er
Him.
benutzt dies als ein Mittel, uns ihm wieder zurückzubringen.
And therefore, when we now enter in this time of this vaccination test, we should see this as God's means of chastisement to make us pay the tithe.
Und so, wenn wir in diese Zeit von dem Impftest hineinkommen, wir sollen das sehen als Gottes Mittel, uns dazu zu bringen, den Zehnten zu zahlen.
Amen?
Amen.
Okay. Then let's close with our prayer.
Dann lass uns mit unserem Gebet machen.